The bank manager had barely finished speaking when the side door opened again. A man in a gray suit walked into the lobby carrying a black leather folder. He was in his late 50s, calm and serious, with the kind of presence that made people stop talking without being asked. He looked around once. Then his eyes landed on me. "Mr. Carter?" I nodded. He walked straight toward me. "Sir, I'm Robert Hayes. I represent the Carter Family Trust." Claire's face changed. "Family Trust?" Robert didn't even look at her. "I'm sorry we're late. Your attorney called ahead and asked us to make sure everything was ready." I stared at him. "Is the hospital transfer still possible?" "Yes, sir." My shoulders finally dropped. "And my mother?" "The hospital has confirmed they can begin treatment as soon as the funds arrive." I closed my eyes for a second. That was all I needed to hear. My mother still had a chance. Then Claire whispered, "What family trust?" I opened my eyes. Robert finally looked at her. "Mrs. Carter?" "Ex-wife," I corrected. Robert nodded politely. "Then I suppose you don't have access to Mr. Carter's private financial information." Claire's face turned red. "I was married to him for 11 years. Robert calmly replied, "And he was building his company for those same 11 years. Claire looked at me. "What company?" I didn't answer. Robert opened his folder. "Daniel, before we proceed, there is something you should know." I frowned. "What?" He pulled out a document. "Your former wife has been contacting several people connected to the Carter Group." My stomach tightened. "What?" Claire stepped forward. "That is a lie." Robert turned another page. "She contacted 2 investors, 1 bank, and your former business attorney. In each case, she claimed you were hiding marital assets from her." I looked at Claire. She shook her head. "I was trying to find out what you were hiding from me. You were divorced from me. You were hiding millions from me?" Robert interrupted. "Actually, Mr. Carter wasn't hiding millions from you." Claire looked at him. "Then what was he hiding?" Robert looked at me. I gave him a small nod. That was when he opened the final document. The company was never personally owned by Daniel Carter. Claire stared at the papers. "What?" Robert continued. 5 years before the divorce, Daniel transferred his controlling interest into a private family trust. Claire's mouth opened. "No." "Yes." She looked at me. "You planned this?" I shook my head. "No, I planned for the possibility that one day someone would try to take away everything I built?" Her eyes narrowed. "You knew I was going to leave?" "No." "Then why?" I looked down at the floor. "Because I had already watched my father lose everything after trusting the wrong person." That was the first time Claire had no answer. Robert placed another document on the counter. "This trust also contains the controlling interest in Carter Logistics." Claire stared at the name. Her face slowly lost its color. "Carter Logistics?" I nodded. She looked at me like I had become a stranger. "You own Carter Logistics?" "Not personally," Robert corrected her. "The trust does." Claire's voice became small. "How much is it worth?" Robert didn't answer. He didn't need to. She had already seen the number on the document. Her eyes moved across the page. Then she looked at me. "You're worth—" I stopped her. "Don't." "But you have—" "Don't turn this into a number." The bank had gone silent. Everyone had heard enough. Claire looked around and finally realized what she had done. She had called me a liar. She had torn apart a $5 million check. She had accused me of being broke. And now the people standing around her knew the truth. But I wasn't finished. Because the money wasn't the only thing Claire had tried to take. I pulled another document from my jacket. Her eyes immediately went to it. "What is that?" "The reason I didn't fight you during the divorce." Claire's face tightened. "What does that mean?" I placed the document on the counter. Robert glanced at it. Then he looked at Claire. "This is the settlement agreement." Claire frowned. "I know what that is. Read page 7. She hesitated. "Read it." Her fingers shook as she turned the page. I watched her eyes move down the paper. Then she stopped. "No." I said nothing. She read it again. "No, that's not possible." Robert said quietly. It is. Claire looked at me. You knew? Yes. Since when? Since the divorce. Her face twisted with anger. Why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't ask. You let me take the house. Yes. You let me take the savings. Yes. You let me tell everyone you were broke. I looked directly into her eyes. Yes. Claire stared at me. Why? That question hurt more than everything else. Because the answer wasn't revenge. Not then. I loved you, I said. She froze. I thought if I gave you everything you wanted, maybe you would finally be happy. Her eyes began to fill. But you weren't. I looked away. So I stopped fighting. Claire whispered what was on page 7. I looked back at her. You waived all future claims against the trust. Her face went completely still. You signed it. I didn't understand. You had your layer. You lied to me. No. My voice remained calm. You asked me what I owned. I told you what I personally owned. You asked for the house, the cars, the savings, and everything in my name. I gave you exactly that. Claire looked down at the settlement, then at Robert, then back at me. You made me think you were broke. No, I shook my head. You made yourself believe that. That was the moment her anger disappeared. For the first time, I saw something else in her eyes. Regret. But I wasn't going to let regret change what had happened. My phone suddenly rang. I looked at the screen. The hospital. I answered immediately. Hello? A nurse spoke quickly. Mr. Carter, we received confirmation from the bank. The doctors are preparing your mother now. My eyes closed. Is she going to make it? We don't know yet. I swallowed. But we're starting. Thank you. I ended the call. Claire was watching me. Is she okay? I looked at her. For now. She nodded slowly. Then she said something I never expected. Daniel. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I really am. I looked at the torn pieces of my check lying on the counter. You should be sorry for what you did to yourself. She frowned. What? You spent years believing I was worthless because I didn't have money in front of you. Her eyes filled. That isn't fair. No, I said quietly. What wasn't fair was making me feel like I had to prove my value every day. She looked down. I continued. You didn't lose me because I wasn't rich enough. She looked at me. You lost me because you stopped respecting me. That sentence finally broke through her anger. A tear rolled down her cheek. But before she could say anything, Robert's phone rang. He answered. His expression changed. What happened? I asked. He covered the phone. Your former wife's attorney has just contacted the trust. Claire looked confused. Why? Robert stared at her. He is asking whether the trust intends to pursue legal action over the false statements made to the investors. Claire went pale. What false statements? Robert didn't soften his voice. Your ex-wife claimed Daniel had stolen company funds. I turned toward Claire. She immediately shook her head. I didn't say stolen. You told them I moved company money into a private account because I thought you did. You told them I was hiding assets. I thought you were. You told them I was financially unstable and couldn't be trusted. Claire went silent. Robert opened another file. We have emails. Claire looked at him. What emails? Your emails. She stared at him. From whom? Robert looked at me. I said nothing. He opened the file. Daniel's former attorney preserved every message because he suspected the claims might become a legal issue. Claire stepped backward. You recorded me? No. I shook my head. You sent the emails yourself. That was the final twist. Claire had spent years thinking I had no proof. She had never realized that the people she contacted had kept everything. Robert continued. You also contacted one of Daniel's investors and told him Daniel was planning to disappear with company funds. Claire's voice cracked. I was angry. That doesn't make it legal. She looked at me. Please. I didn't respond. Daniel, please. I made a mistake. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I said, I know. Her face softened. You forgive me? No. Her expression fell. I understand you. I picked up my jacket. And that's different. Claire began crying. I thought you were nobody. I looked at her. That was your mistake. I walked toward the bank doors. Then I stopped. I turned around one last time. You know what hurts the most? Claire said nothing. It isn't that you left? Her eyes met mine. It isn't that you took the house? I paused. It isn't even that you told people I was a failure. I looked at the torn check. It's that when my mother was dying, you saw me desperate and decided that was the perfect time to humiliate me. Claire covered her mouth. I continued. You didn't have to love me anymore. But you could have been kind. Then I walked out. The hospital room was quiet when I arrived. My mother was unconscious. Machines beeped beside her bed. I sat down and held her hand. For the first time in years, I didn't think about Claire. I didn't think about the company. I didn't think about money. I just sat there. Hours passed. Then, sometime after midnight, my mother's fingers moved. I immediately stood. Mom? Her eyes slowly opened. She looked at me. Daniel? I laughed through tears. Yeah, Mom, I'm here. She looked at the machines. What happened? You scared me. She gave me the weakest smile. I've been scaring you since you were 5. I laughed. Then she noticed my wet eyes. Are you crying? No. You always were a terrible liar. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. You're going to be okay. She closed her eyes. Did you get the money? Yes. How? I smiled. Long story. She opened one eye. Did Claire help? I almost laughed. No, my mother sighed. Then I suppose it was a very long story. Weeks later, my mother was sitting outside in the sunlight when I brought her coffee. She was weak but alive? That was enough for me. The legal case against Claire never became the public spectacle she feared. I didn't need revenge. The evidence spoke for itself. Her false statements were withdrawn. Her attorney sent an apology. The investors stayed. The trust remained untouched. And Claire eventually lost the one thing she had been trying hardest to protect her, reputation. Not because I destroyed it, because the truth did. One afternoon, I received a letter from her. I almost threw it away. Instead, I opened it. There were only a few lines. She said she had spent years believing money made a person important. She said she had judged me by the car I drove, the clothes I wore, and the life I showed her. And then she wrote something that stayed with me. I didn't realize you had become successful. I realize now that I never understood what success was. I folded the letter. I didn't answer. Some doors don't need to be slammed. They just need to stay closed. Months later, I returned to that same bank. The branch manager recognized me immediately. Mr. Carter, I smiled. Just Daniel, he laughed. After what happened here, I don't think anyone is going to forget you. I looked at the counter where my $5 million check had once been torn apart. For a second, I remembered Claire's voice. You're still the same loser who begged me not to leave. Then I remembered my mother's hand squeezing mine in that hospital room. And I realized something. Claire had been wrong. I wasn't valuable because I had $5 million. I wasn't valuable because I owned a company. I wasn't valuable because a bank manager called me sir. I was valuable before any of that. I just needed to stop asking people who didn't love me to prove it. I walked out of the bank and called my mother. Hey, Mom, what's wrong? Nothing? Then why are you calling? I smiled. I just wanted to hear your voice. She went quiet for a second. Then she said, I love you, Daniel. I looked up at the sky. I love you too. And that was when I finally understood the real revenge. It wasn't watching Claire lose. It wasn't seeing her face when she discovered I had money. It wasn't even knowing that she had judged the wrong man. The real victory was walking away from the woman who once made me feel worthless, and realizing I didn't need her to know my worth anymore. Because sometimes the strongest answer to betrayal isn't revenge. It's becoming so at peace with yourself that the person who broke you no longer has any power over you. And sometimes The people who write you off don't deserve a second chance to read your story.